website, you typically 2 photographs, maybe on Facebook more so. And those 2 photographs will be one maybe with the background of the slides of talk and
Okay. How about you? There's a task one to wake up.
Another one of the audience. Curious faces, maybe some close-ups of the clothing of the audiences.
Ajay.
It's good to know we have, such talents in our So maybe for the student conference.
Sometimes we ask.
No. It's great, okay? They have So the scrivener would end up using good class formats. So it's good to So you have met them, Christina, and seems like we have in our midst photographers. So in case we need to request them, we have right now. Good photo. So they're the best.
For professional photography.
Remove the move closer. Yeah. I don't think they'll be, sitting too far back. Remove the
Notice that students have deep questions about education, very deep questions. And if we don't reply to these questions, we cannot have students as our allies in education process. Like one of the deepest metaphysical questions students are asking, why we should go to school? That's a deep question, that's an important question. But instead of replying to this question, because I know here we have parents also, and you know that lots of students are asking why we should go to school. What's the purpose? Why? And instead of asking to this question, policymakers usually say, students should learn more subjects because the world is getting complicated. There are lots of spheres in current world, so they should learn more subjects. And we see how many subjects we are continuously introducing in our schools. And the other reply is, children should spend more years in schools. Now, if you are not convincing me why I should go to school, your answer that, before you were going 10 years, now you should go 12 years, doesn't make sense for me. Because I don't care how long I will go. The children are asking very deep question, why I should go. Another question, students are asking another interesting, deep metaphysical question. Who am I? And usually policymakers are, they say, we have state standards which are developed by high-quality professionals. So we are introducing standard-based education in our system. And many talented children who are out of these standards, they think that probably they are stupid. So dialogue is important. So education is a relationship art, or let's say social art. If there is no dialogue, if we don't have effective communication in the system between all participants, not only the minister and the director or ministry people, but all participants. Education reform is not something you import from abroad, and then you pour on the heads of school principals, and they pour on the heads of teachers, and they fill the heads of students. Education is not forcing, is not pouring, it's not a transfer thing. There is a very talented speaker in education, Ken Robinson. He says teachers are not DHL workers. They are not required to transmit information into heads of students. So education is about relationships. So number one issue in education, we should start dialogue. And especially, we should start our dialogue with students. Otherwise, we will not succeed. Because children and students are not machines. So this is the second issue in education. Now, when the age of industrialism started, we had lots of successes in machinery. And then there is a tendency to introduce machinery thinking, technical thinking, industrial thinking into education. And we started to think that like children are machines who should produce high test scores. Sometimes I think that for us students are test score producers. If they are producing higher scores, they are good. If they are not producing high scores, they are bad. But let me tell an interesting story about this. There is a story in Armenian which I somehow added a new component on this story by myself. The story is about the auto mechanic. So auto mechanic complains to the doctor, says, you know, I'm working very hard, but you doctors are earning huge money. Why auto mechanics are earning low? And the doctor says, can you switch on the engine of your car? And then auto mechanic switches on the engine of the car, and the doctor says, now can you fix this car while the engine is working? And the auto mechanic says, no, I always switch off everything in order to be safe. And the doctor says, you see, I cannot switch off the heart of a patient. So I always deal with an organism, not a machine. But this is the story which many Armenians know. But I added a new fragment to this story. Let's imagine that a teacher is there, and teacher says, dear doctor, wait a minute. I know you are working with organisms, but still you can use some anesthesiological means to your patients and do what you want. Yeah? But can we teach switch off consciousness or reactions of our students in our classrooms? No. Teachers and professors are working with 30, 50, 100 students who are always reacting to what we are saying. We cannot say, you know, I am going to use anesthesiological, am I using the word right? I don't know. You understand? Yeah. So that's the critical thing you understand. Because in teaching, there is also this approach that my work is just saying, so it's your problem, understand or not. So I am paid for delivering a speech. Understanding is your problem. If there is a problem, it's your problem. It's your problem. So, and doctors are working with one patient at a time, right? They cannot work with 30 patients in 45 minutes or 80 minutes. But teachers are forced to work with 40 students, 50 students in 80 minutes. See how difficult is teaching profession. So one of the things is that we should consider children, students as living organisms, and we should get rid of this technical approach in education, because one of the serious problems we will face in very, very near future is the following. We are educating our children like machines. They should reproduce the knowledge. Now, see what happens. Children with mechanical knowledge grow, and very soon they are going to face competition with robots. So, very soon we will have a serious battle between robots and robot-like students. And I'm sure students are going to lose this battle because employers will prefer robots. They don't get sick, they don't create problems, and you should not pay gutagain, I don't know how to say it in English, the special tax which was recently introduced in Armenia for robots. So they are going to prefer robots. And what are going to do these robot-like students? So we should think about this problem which there is a data about this that in 20 years 40% of existing jobs will disappear because of robots.
Then why did people create the EQ test? What's the meaning of EQ test then? It's replacing
Emotional
the IQ.
EQ?
Yeah, I mean it's in some places now replacing the IQ test. If employers prefer robots, then why do they use the EQ test instead of the IQ
Yeah,
test?
because many advanced organizations, they understand the value of human beings, their emotional, creative value. And you know that, like, for example, in Google, a huge amount of people, they don't even have university education because they trust in creativity of people, but not. And that's another reason that there is a big movement in the world called social emotional learning, because another danger for education is that education now is children are becoming more sensible. They are losing their emotional richness. So another issue which we are having in education is current education system is for few. So it's assuring well-being of few people, not every person. And one famous English historian, Arnold Toynbee, said that the biggest change in 20th century, the biggest event in 20th century will not be 2 world wars and even technological development. The biggest shift in 20th century is that people started to think about possibility of well-being for all or education for all. Because, traditionally education is not for all. And unfortunately, still it's not for all. If you go to the classrooms and even universities, you see that most of the teachers are working with 20% or 50% of students. The other part of the students are just sitting in the room. They just have physical presence. But the good thing is that one of the new developments in education, it happened last year. There are some good news that some countries have high quality education and equity. Meaning, high quality education is becoming available for more and more societies. And among these countries, we have Finland, number 1. We have even Estonia is getting very close to this. So this is another important issue in education. Still, our education is for few. Others just are getting diplomas, physical presence, and let me show this on the blackboard. Let's imagine that the curriculum of first grade in the school. So some students learn everything, but others like this part, some others this part, and then we go to second grade. In the second grade curriculum, we have this one, so you should learn this level in order to learn new. And students who learn this in the first grade, they are having problem with new material. So in the second grade, let's say we are losing 55% of our students because they don't understand the new material because they didn't learn the previous one. And this problem goes to higher grades, and in 12th grade, probably we have only 10% of students, maybe in some schools more, who understand what's going on. Others are out. They just come to school, continuing to ask why we are going to school, and policy makers say you should learn more. But children are asking more deep questions. Why? This is the deepest question. And you know, this equity issue is very important. I want now to show you an interesting short video which will show you that even for monkeys, equality and equity are critical. So let's see what happens. This is a test with monkeys.
Is the monkey who gets cucumber. The one on the right is the one who gets grapes. The one who gets cucumber, note that the first piece of cucumber is perfectly fine. The first piece she eats. Then she sees the other one getting grape, and you will see what happens. So she gives a rock to us, that's the task. And we give her a piece of cucumber and she eats it. The other one needs to give a rock to us. And that's what she does. And she gets a grape.
Great.
And she eats it. The other one sees that. She gives a rock to us now, gets again cucumber. She tests her rock now against the wall. She needs to give it to us. And she gets cucumber again. So this is basically the Wall Street protest that you see here.
So see what happens to our students on the left side, 12 years. They do all this explicit or implicit revolts against teachers and the system, but sometimes they do it politely, so we don't see children throwing cucumbers on education system. So, what you see on this photo? Tiger. Tiger in the jungle. Who said that? So this is an interesting test which was done with people from Western culture and Asian culture. And usually people from Western culture, they say it's a tiger. Most of the people from Western culture. Most of the people from Asian culture say it's a tiger in the jungle. There is another type of this, a black point on the blackboard. And sometimes we ask students, what's that? They say it's a black point. And some others say it's a black point on the whiteboard, let's say. So I think this is a very critical issue in education. Why? Because in education, egocentric thinking is very, very dangerous. Because when we become egocentric people, we don't notice big ideas. We don't notice important ideas. We see only things which are directly connected to us. Russian famous writer Lev Tolstoy says, people are becoming a short distance beings. They only see what's going on near them. Now, in this environment, education cannot be effective. Because let's imagine what we are teaching in our schools and universities. We are talking about very, very big, important, idealistic things. And imagine a child who is egocentric and thinking about that he is hungry or he is going to earn the money from harvesting works. This type of thinking is making impossible all our efforts. And recently one of Armenian teachers was saying to me that when she goes to classrooms, she feels loneliness. She feels that nobody needs this knowledge because it's very abstract, it's very far. Children are interested when the new version of iPhone is coming out, how much money they will make if they will become an oligarch. What they are going to do after classes. They think about egocentric things. But education is not egocentric. It's an ecological endeavor. I mean, it's effective in the societies where people understand that their ego is not the most important thing in this world. And this is an interesting thing which I say to students always, that the purpose of our life is creating a beautiful place inside of ourselves and then expanding and sharing this beautiful world with other people. So, if we are egocentric, we cannot build nothing valuable inside ourselves. And we will not have anything interesting to share with the people. And I want to finish with one of my famous stories. This is a Sufi story. One student goes to the professor and says, "Professor, teacher, I'm tired. Say something as a mental lunch. Give me some mental food, brain food." And teacher says, "Okay, can you bring me a carrot, egg, and coffee bean?" So the student brings, and also he asks for a pot, 3 pots, and water. So in one pot, the teacher puts the carrots. In the second one, eggs. And the third one, coffee bean. And starts boiling. And then, after a couple of minutes of boiling, teacher asks the student, "Can you explain me what happens with carrot, egg, coffee bean?" And the student says, "Before boiling, the carrot was harder, now it's more soft. The egg, before boiling, was soft, now it's hard. I don't know what happened with coffee is ready, let's say. And the teacher says, yeah, you are right, but what you say, it's very simplicist. It's not essential. The essential thing is the following. The three things face the same adversity. And the adversity is boiling, right? So three different things face the same challenge. Boiling. Carrot is like a person who faces difficulties in the life and becomes weaker. Saying, you know, this world is awful, I'm going to resign. I'm going to go into myself. It's not my world. Egg is a person who is facing difficulties in the life and becomes stronger. And he starts fighting with everybody, with the world. The student says, that's okay, but what about coffee? And the teacher says, the coffee is the most essential thing here. It meets the challenge and it changed the water. Before, the water was not as delicious as it is now. Sorry for tea drinkers. So, and the teacher says you should be like coffee. You should face the world and like a coffee bean, you should bring your richness, your rich world to this water and change it.
You can also add a little sugar to make it a little sweet.
Thank you. Now we will have an emergency because of my speech. Let's have questions and answers because that's not the whole we have in education. And I will be ready to answer your questions and your remarks, your opinions. Let's start the dialogue.
I think after you have presented on Greece, you should have at least some insight on what kind of solutions you can suggest.
Okay. As I understand, you said you were talking about solutions.
Yes.
Okay. So the solution part is the most easy part because as Einstein was saying, if someone gives me a problem, 99% of time I spend on defining the problem. And then if the problem is rightly defined, then 1% of time will be enough for solving the problem. So maybe it can be another topic or presentation because that's a big question to talk about solutions. But frankly talking, I'm thinking about this topic as well. One thing which is bad with education is that education is a secondary system in society. I mean, it always depends on political and economical development. If you have a political and economical well-being, you have a chance to have a good education. Look at Finland. Everybody is talking that Finland has fantastic teachers. I agree, but it's one side of the medal. The other side of the medal is that Finland is number one country in the world as a freedom of press. Finland is number 3 country in the world of well-being of citizens. Finland is number 4th country in the world in child poverty. So, meaning that you can have good education, you can have. It's not mandatory because many countries have better economies but not good education. The chances of having good education depends on economical and political development. So this is number one solution. After you have it, another thing is I will bring two examples from Armenian history. In Armenian history, we have two interesting people. Number one is Garegi Servanzatyan, and number two is more well-known, Komitas. What did these people? They went to village by village, and they collected information from people about Sasunsi David, Garegi Servanzatyan, and Komitas about Armenian music, national traditional music. And after that, they created this nice Sasunsi David and music. I think we need to do this in Armenia. This is number second. We need people who will not import educational reforms, because there is no country in the world which is importing educational reforms. I mean, there are, but they are not successful. If you look at Finland and South Korea, you see that these countries sometimes are doing different and sometimes opposing things, but still having good systems. Because education system is very much embedded on your existing culture. So we need people who will go to the schools of Armenia, to the universities of Armenia, find best practices, because it's interesting, and my experience shows that in Armenia we have fantastic teachers. Not many, but few, who are doing a very good job with the same salary, in the same environment, with the same children. If I bring Pasi Salberg from Finland, or I don't know, some expert from Great Britain, and this person works with Armenian teachers, they always say, your salaries are high, your culture is different, we cannot use what you are saying. But if we find good practices, existing good practices in Armenian education system, and we collect these practices and create a system, then sharing with schools. Number third solution. For a country like Armenia, it's critical to bring best people to education. Unfortunately, here we have corruption. Not the best specialists become teachers at schools or principals at schools, and that's a problem. If we bring low-quality people, then even we spend hundreds of millions on training these people, it will not be effective. Let's spend this money on bringing best people to education. And if you bring best people to education with very low money, you can have higher results. Because if you have good teachers, interesting people, autodidact teachers, then you will have a cheap system. But if you bring bad people, it's like a pot with a huge hole where you invest money and it's lost. It's not effective. It's not. There are no results. So these are some of the solutions, but I mean, I have other stuff, but let's save the time.
You were speaking about today's system on education.
What system?
Today's system on education. You were speaking about today's system of education where the robots are created and so on. Is the market demand is in such a way that the employers need just the robots, not a creative or thinking man? For example, I'm a doctor by profession, where you don't have any space for your own creativity. You just go with the books and you just practice on human beings. what is given on the books, and the way the state or the health structures, protocols also is structured in the way like you have to be like a robot. You don't have any space for like creating something. In this sphere, like professional education, what is your suggestion? What you are trying to?
Yeah. So I think I'm not saying that we will need 100% of creative people. That will be very dangerous. When people will do what they think or what they imagine. But I'm talking about the shift in, like the previous economy was asking for more people to stand in front of the machines and do some technical work. Yeah. Now, we don't need so many people doing this type of work. My suggestion is that there is a shift of number of people. Like maybe before there was a need of 5% of creative people. Now probably we need 30% of creative people because the serious business people say that we can overcome existing economic crisis with the help of more creative minds, creative schools. They need more, but definitely there are lots of works which should continue to be routine. So you should follow the books, you should follow the regulations, and you should understand, you should be reasonable to see where you need creativity and where you need to be to follow the rules.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Serob. Hello? No. Thank you, Serob. That was really interesting and kind of inspirational to hear you talk with us. Many people in this room, I think, are either teachers or aspiring to be teachers. Many of us know good teachers or know people who are going to become good teachers. I have two questions. One is, can you give us some examples that you've come across in Armenia of some of the sort of good practices that you've seen? That's the first question, maybe the easier question. The second question is, what do you think is holding Armenia back? If not for the financial piece of it, what's holding Armenia back from really investing the time and energy in creating the kind of system that will make a difference?
Okay, that's a really difficult question. First question about talking about best practices. So I have a big experience of working with village schools and regional schools. I still work with village schools. Best practices I found in the schools is the following. We have interesting teachers who are not only good in technical stuff, but they have some interesting character. So they bring this character into the classrooms. For example, we have a teacher who is, I know a teacher who is teaching history of Armenia and history of Armenian church. And originally she is from Sasun. She is Sasunti. And she has a very good knowledge of Sasun culture. And she brings all this culture into the classroom. And not just teaches facts about history, but the real history, inspirational history, and because of her, many students continued their education in the field of Armenian studies. And there is a big connection between the teacher and students. Many students come to this school because of this teacher. They say, we come here because we know she is there. I know some other teachers. For example, I know an interesting mathematics teacher from Gevarkunik, Mars. He is a graduate of one of the best Armenian schools and university, and he has lots of skills. Like one of the strengths of Armenian men, traditional, was that besides being a scientist, we were plumbers, electricians, so lots of additional skills which our grandfathers taught us. Every Armenian man should be a plumber and electrician and other, which is very important because, you know, in the world now there is a new movement called, in education, called maker movement, which says children in the school should make things. They should use these tools. This is, for example, one of the things that Armenia is still very strong. And this math teacher is teaching not only textbook math, but using his electricians and plumber skills. He's using lots of mathematical stuff by doing. And it's an interesting character of more authentic learning stuff, not just theoretical and textbook. Now, the second question about what's the problem with Armenia. The problem with Armenia is that the shift we had in the country is very difficult shift because there was some system, there was some tale during Soviet times. And many people were believing into this tale, and now this tale is destroyed. Now we continue teaching without some vision. I said that one of the problems in education is that you always need a big picture. In education, you need a tale, you need a vision, you need some big thing in order to do smaller things in the classrooms. Right now, we don't have vision. And teachers are teaching separated, fragmentary subjects without holistic thing. For example, it's like a car that 12 years you teach to the students about different parts of car, like let's say history and theory of engine, and you teach 4 years this stupid theoretical subject, and then at the end of the school, students say, where is the car? How should I drive this car? Why I need to learn about history and theory of engine without seeing a whole car and without driving the car? And they go to job market and employers ask them what you can do. And graduates say, you know, I can tell you about history and theory of engine. But employers need someone who can drive the car, do something, not just tell history and theory of something. That's the problem. We need a big picture. That's important for education.
First of all, I want to thank you for an interesting lecture. It was the first time I received a presentation. So you mentioned in your speech a very important issue that is about spread in schools. You said that teachers work with half of the class and they pay less attention to those who don't absorb information quickly. What do you think? How that problem can be solved, and what do you do as a teacher to change that? Thank you.
That's an important question. This is another problem which Shahristan, Armenia is still facing because Armenian education system is mostly sorting system. And the traditional education systems were sorting systems. The idea was that please sort 20% of smart kids, send them to the universities and then to political places, or I don't know, they are going to be managers, scientists, and so on. The other 80% should have few knowledge because they are going to be villagers, they are going to work in the factory, so they don't need to know many things. So just sort 20-30% of talented kids and send them to universities. But now the challenge is different because the world now is very open. And as the world is very open, most of the people are facing with lots of problems. Imagine if the world is becoming smaller, then the result is that you are facing with more things. Like before, you were not allowed to publish your opinion. Now you can go on Facebook or on Twitter and say something from yourself. This means that current challenge is that we need more educated people. Before, 20% were the pilots of a human airplane, and 80% of society were just passengers, sitting and waiting where this smart 20% of people are taking the plane. Now, the challenge is that more people should be pilots, because we have now more airplanes. We don't need so many passengers. So, but the problem is that our teachers are taught to work in old way. And there is another big problem. I talk about this in my TEDx speech, which you can watch on TEDx Yerevan website. The problem is that there is a dilemma. The teachers are in dilemma. There is a state program and there are students. If you follow the state program, you neglect the students. And many teachers follow the program because if they don't follow the program, they will be punished. There are inspectors who will come to their classroom and say, why you are not teaching this topic? According to state program, today your topic should be this. And if teacher says, I have 5 students in the class who didn't understand the previous topic, so I spent more time on them, and that's why I am falling behind. They will say, I don't care. Now, the dilemma is that if you teach the program, you have lots of students who fall behind. If you teach the students, you will have a problem with the program. So that's the dilemma which teachers are facing in real classroom every day. And again, like the story about fish and water, nobody is talking about this. That's a simple but very difficult problem our teachers are facing. But unfortunately, we don't have many teachers who talk about their problems in the classroom. One of the worst things with Armenia, so your question is kind of eternal questions. With every question I find some new reply. One of the problems, what was I going to say? One of the problems with Armenia is that in Armenia, teachers, school principals, education managers, they think that the number one job of the manager is hiding the problems. Teachers hide the problems they face in the classroom because if they go to the principal and say, principal, there is a problem. 50% of my students are not learning. Principal will say, the problem is you.
Yes.
Go from here. If the school principal goes to Marspet Aran, regional governance, and say, dear Marspet, there's a problem in my school. 60% of my school students are having academic problems. I'm voicing the problem. The Marspet will say, it means you are not a good principal. And the hidden agenda is that managers in Armenia mostly are hiding the problems. If you are hiding a problem, you are a fantastic manager. But the reality is that the problems are growing. And I know here are lots of people who are taking conflict resolution classes. And sometimes we say that hiding conflicts is worse, right? Because if we hide small conflicts, at some point we will face a huge conflict. But if we intervene with small conflicts, then we will prevent bigger problems. Like one of the interesting things with Finland education system is that when in the first grade they see students with problems, they immediately intervene. We don't intervene. We hide, say, okay, go to the second grade, go to the third grade, take the diploma, because every child is money for school. So we don't want to get rid of students. So the problem is to have a new curriculum, new training, new teacher education system, where teachers can include more students. But that's another big problem. But, okay, next question.
Yeah, just along those lines, I'm a professor in the MA TOEFL program here, and at least 3 of my students, one of whom is here, is collecting a lot of data from teachers in Armenia that are reflecting this dilemma you're talking about, where they don't have the freedom to use different materials, they don't have the freedom to teach with the new methods. So once all this data is out there and it's available, it's published, who needs to read it to decide that we need to approach things differently? I mean, does it go all the way to the ceiling, which is the Ministry of Education? Like, where is the blockade that's not allowing things to be different? Because I know the Republic of Armenia, the curriculum they've outlined for teaching English, for example, it says it should be communicative and they should be doing different types of activities, and the teachers can speak this language, but what they're doing in the classroom is the old style. Fill in the gap, repeat, translate, nothing communicative. So
yeah,
it just feels, it's paralyzing, to be honest with you. It's very paralyzing for the teachers, for teacher educators, when you feel like the only way they're going to be able to do what they're learning to do here is to go to a private language institute or open their own school.
So, thank you for the question. I am happy that now I will write on the blackboard new word, which probably many of you don't know. That will be my investment for TEFL department. There is an interesting word in English, probably professors know this, called wordsmithing. Yeah, it's that. Silversmithing, it's like this. But that's an interesting word. Armenia, during last years, did a fantastic wordsmithing job in education. Wordsmithing means that you collect lots of fantastic words, like high quality education, quality assurance system, critical thinking, creative thinking, freedom. And you compile all these nice words. It's called wordsmithing. Like silversmither is doing with silver, and our education people are doing with words. So you have a nice English program, as you told, where they say in the schools during English classes we should teach communication skills, creative thinking, critical thinking. Children should use YouTube, digital tools, because so we have all this nice word as a result of our wordsmithing activities, but unfortunately it's not the reality. That's why nobody is reading these reports, this data. I was involved in several research projects in education. Unfortunately, policy people come and say, we agree with you. And the result is that, the problems you are mentioning are very serious, and we don't want to be open about these problems. So we should hide them as much as we can. And as a result, we have nice programs, but the reality, classroom life, is really different. And with the English language teaching, we have more serious problems because if you have 30 students in a school, it's really very difficult to teach so many students English language. And another problem is that, especially in the village schools, we have very bad foreign language teachers develop this creativity. But I think the creativity, we have lots of other classes in Armenia, but creativity is a thing that is really very demanded in the world. So I think this should be our cultural strength.
And another question, thank you for the talk. I'm Anna Lavertian. Sorry? Yes. No, I will speak louder. So it's a question and a suggestion meanwhile. You suggested not to hide the problems. It is not to be secure, not to be seeking to be secure. And I want to say that when a child is born, so the learning process starts from this moment, and the learning process for him is very, very delightful process. When he comes to school, it becomes like a disaster for him to learn. Let's keep this learning process as natural as it was for the child, not to make artificial programs, not to make artificial curriculums, and not to hide those problems behind and to show everything is excellent. Everything is not excellent, of course. It's a problem and a question and a suggestion for all of us here, and not, of course, only here, to think and to develop the program, to develop the system. So let's keep everything natural. It's the fundamental thing, and go further. I hope we'll do that. Thank you.
That's an interesting point. Now, when we have children, what are the most exciting moments after the birth of our child? I think there are two exciting things. Number one, when child starts walking, right, moving, we say yes. We call everybody, we post on Facebook that our kid or grandchild started moving, walking. Number two is when the child starts speaking. Yeah? And if this process is delayed somehow, we are in a panic. We go to different people and ask them, at what age your grandchild started speaking, to see are we in a norm or there is some problem. So, walking and talking. And when these children go to schools, there are two enemies which teachers hate. Children who walk, who move, who are active because they like, they don't like moving bodies. And number two, when students talk. So in the school we kill two things which were excited for parents. And the conclusion here is that talking and walking are the most important natural gifts that people have. But as the schools are artificial places, sometimes we fight against nature of things. In some sense, I agree. Schools cannot be 100% natural places because in this case, we will be just animals. The education will not be meaningful. French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau said that the most important thing that human beings have is not just brain or intellect, reasoning. The most important advantage that people have is perfectibility, meaning we can be better and better by the time, so we can grow, as I mentioned in my speech. So using some natural talents of children and adding some cultural things, because teachers are the agents of existing culture. So teachers' work is also presenting children existing culture of the world, because if we don't present the existing culture, children cannot be safe in the society. So the problem is that we need more teachers in the schools and the universities who have this fantastic skill called interesting people, or people who satisfy children's curiosity. The natural talent of children is curiosity. Children like curiosity. They like curious things. But if the teacher is not an interesting person, they get bored of this person and they start seeking curiosity in other places, not in the school. That's why research says it's very important what teachers and professors do after classes. Do they read books? Do they write articles? Do they go to conferences? Do they stay at school and discuss pedagogical issues? Or they say, I have some work in my home, or I need to watch a soap opera, or I need just have a rest. So it's critical what teachers do during after-school hours. And if they don't have intellectual activities, that's dangerous. Because they just become tutors, not teachers.
I have a question regarding your speech. Doesn't that mean that teachers are not motivated? Because the students are not learning, 50% of students are not learning, they just came to the school because the fees are, like salary is not appropriate and other stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, they are not motivated. There is no even system of motivating them, because I noticed that there are young teachers who go to school and they are very optimistic to change something, and usually students like young teachers. So there is some emotional bonds which exist in the school with novice teachers, but unfortunately, instead of inspiring them, we kill. Let me give an example. I have a student who is working as a librarian at the school, and one of the teachers was sick. So principal called her and said, "You are going to replace her for 20 days because she is sick, and you have a pedagogical education. Please replace her for 20 days or 1 month." So she gets very excited because she is going to work with children. And so she went to teacher's room during the break and said, principal asked me to work as a teacher for 1 month, and I'm very excited. So what are your advice? What should I do? Because this is my first time. And 90% of teachers said, you should be very angry and strict. Otherwise, children will sit on your head. So, when you enter the classroom, be very angry and very serious, strict. Otherwise, you will fail. Now, see what happened. Students know this lady because she is librarian. So, they had good... Now, she went to the 6th grade classroom with angry body language. She entered the classroom, and children were very excited. They were laughing. They were happy that this young teacher is replacing the angry one. So when she entered, teacher said, "Can you open the blackboard?" There are blackboards which have kind of wings, so you open it. And teacher, she immediately thought that this is a trick. So she gets angry, why I should do this, and they say, in a nice way, they said, please do it. So when she opened, she noticed, dear teacher, we are so happy and excited that you are going to work with us. Congratulations. So they sent to her a nice message. But see the predisposition of teachers towards children. You should be angry, strict, punish them. Kill their creativity and personality. But children are very curious. They look for curiosity, they look for some change, they look for some light, some happy moments. So they are very interesting creatures, but unfortunately we are not ready to, and the best thing is just pressing.
Thank you for your speech. And I have a remark to the last question in your response and the following question. I think the teachers are forgetting that the best reward, the best motivation for them is not the salary. Of course, they all need to live and make their living. But the first motivation for any teacher should be the effectiveness of what he's delivering. If you see the result, that would be the one and only motivating thing. And judging from that, I have a personal opinion that, of course, it's a catch-22 process. You never know which was the first, the hen or the egg. And if we start to make a whole change or a reform or whatever it's called, it's very difficult to choose which is the stage where we should start from. But I truly believe that we have to start with educating the teachers how they should educate. Because maximally, what is education? It's teaching the child to accept the information. You just don't have to load the child's head, as you said, with information which he's not able to analyze, have critical thinking, or be able to have his own opinion. So the teacher should be the leader, the guide to the knowledge. So don't you think that the real reform in Armenia should start with teaching the people who are to become teachers what is the child development, what is the child psychology, and what are the approaches, not talking about curriculum and methods, but what is a child and how it should be approached.
Thank you, and this is the last question, because as I told, education is secondary. The priority is our security. And now we are going to have an emergency case in a minute. So education is secondary. Let's finish with this fantastic question. Thank you. I completely agree. I think people who are in education, we should have people for whom money is not the priority. I'm not saying money is not important. I'm saying if money is number one for you in this world, then please don't poison our generation, our children. Go to business, go to, other places, corruptive places, make money. Because I work as a teacher and a professor, and I really think that I'm the happiest person because I work in education and I don't earn too much. But what is exciting for me is that many of them become rich people, successful people. İHECUKA's school. What's awesome, İHECUKA's? In spite of school, and say, see, you were saying I'm stupid. Now I have a scientific degree, I have lots of money, and I am a successful person. And because you were punishing me, I'm not going to donate any cent to you, to your school. That's punishing is not the best way in education. Unfortunately, we use it frequently. Thank you.
I want to thank Serob Khachatryan. Thank you so much for coming and giving this inspiring, thought-provoking talk. And thank you all for coming once again. Let's remember that around this time there will be a fire drill, so probably it's about time for us to leave the building. Thank you.
This